Hello and welcome to the Telegraph Studios. I'm Alistair Green and today we're discussing a new approach to business schools. And joining me is the Dean of Value Entus Business School, Nicholas J. Higgins. Good morning.
Good morning, Alistair.
So first of all, as the Dean of Value Entus Business School, how's the market at the moment?
Well, it's actually booming, and we're seeing quite a lot of entrants across the spectrum. There's most of the press looks at the top end, the luxury market as we call it. These are where master's courses cost upwards of £100,000. However, we're seeing also quite a lot of growth in the end regarding masters in management, which is a much more value priced offering, and this is where Value Entus Business School positions itself.
Okay, well tell us a little bit more about Value Entus.
Okay, well Value Entus Business School actually grew up from doing a lot of leadership management development work with clients over time. The school got set up back in 2006 to offer a new Masters in Human Capital Management at the time. Over time we've looked at the marketplace, we got feedback from students, and we've always looked at how we can do things a bit different. We talk about business education for business people, by business people, and that's us. And we have some new methodology technology that helps the student experience whilst also reducing costs of what you would normally expect for a master's course.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the programs that you actually run there.
Okay, well I mentioned the Masters in Human Capital Management, which I think we were the first to actually offer. We have an MBA full-time and part-time, and we have other part-time courses, Masters in Entrepreneurial Strategy, Masters in Employee Engagement and Talent Management, which again we think we're the first in that. We have a people emphasis on most of our Masters, but other than that they are the course modules that people would tend to know that are offered.
So what's unique about Value Entus?
Well, two things. One is obviously our business focus, the fact that we have garnered quite a lot of information from organisations over time. We link that in with what we call the case-based learning, the Harvard approach. We utilise a lot of Harvard case studies. But most significantly, the big innovation for us is changing the way in which we are assessing students. We have thrown out the essays, these overbearing, sometimes very time-consuming efforts and issues that come about with essay writing on the master's courses, plagiarism and the amount of stress it can cause. And I should know from having done previous masters myself. What we've replaced it with, we've taken a leaf out of the legal and medical profession by using advanced multiple choice questioning. We have a sophisticated approach, the idea being that we can assess almost real time with students how they're doing, a lot more feedback. But more importantly, it cuts out a whole raft of cost and time based on the old system, as we call it.
Now, I know you believe in something called SCART technology, so maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that and whether you see that catching on.
Yes, in fact, what I've described, SCART, it stands for Streamlined Continuous Assessment in Real Time. And the whole point about this is the fact we looked at the student experience, we looked also at the cost of delivering courses. And one of the biggest issues was this issue of students producing work and then having to wait for assessment on what they'd given in prior to their next module or next assignment. With the real-time assessment program, we have the multiple choice criteria. It's a sophisticated approach using technology. We're able to assess in class and outside of class where people are at. There are plenty of practice sessions, which means we can also assess over time, and these are all based on case study type scenarios.
Okay, so a student coming to Value Entus, what can they expect?
Well, I'd like to think from the feedback we got is quality teaching. We put a lot of emphasis on the teaching. We also talk about applied knowledge. We are looking here at business application. So all the case studies are real life organisations, that all of the material and data is from real life sources. This helps for students to really apply it, what they're learning, into their organisation, or understand where their organisation is, even if they're not even applying it. So it's quite key. We talk about quality of teaching and the case study methodology, together with the fact that we'd like to think the student experience is lightened by this new assessment methodology.
Okay, so that's the students. What about businesses? What can they expect?
Well, again, businesses, we would argue, can expect their students and associates, as we like to call them, getting some real prime quality learning which can be very influential for them in the organisation and can be utilised in many ways from projects that they get involved with at the school. At the same time, we also talk about license to manage. This is about managers who ordinarily may not look at a master's because of the cost. With the cost associated with our programme, they may decide that this is a good idea to do. We can link this inside organisations with the ability for managers to be able to manage. It's very similar to the pilot, having a number of hours under the belt before they become pilot a plane. We adopt the same methodology for organisations, for managers.
So how does that relate in terms of your programme to the everyday manager and leader of today?
Again, well, the idea being that being part-time, students don't have to take their time out of work and realise that they may even not be there in a year's time. The idea is that it's part and parcel of the organisational process, that they're learning on the job, so to speak, even though it may be at lessons off-site. The issue for them is they are concentrating their efforts on case studies that all have resonance with the organisation they're in. They are specifically picked by us on a selection process that is designed for students to look at organisations in the way in which their own organisation is working.
And what do you expect to change with that?
Well, we'd like to think that over time we are effectively making more managers more competent. The value pricing of our masters means that a lot of managers may never have thought they could do this kind of qualification, can do. This only has to be good for organisations. This isn't some academic blue sky exercise. This is real life business case learning where managers can look at what's going on, look at their own competencies and realise that if they're doing right, they should be in the field for promotion.
So let's look ahead a little bit. Where do you see VaLUENTiS Business School in the future?
Well, I'd like to think that increase of students means that we can open up centres across the world, whether it be the States, in Europe and Asia. There's basically replicating this model. We feel there is a market there which can only benefit organisations and managers. And we'd like to think in a few years' time, we may even be able to get into the rankings, top 50 rankings.
Well, good luck with that. It's been fascinating talking to you from the VaLUENTiS Business School. Nicholas J. Higgins, thank you very much.
Thank you.